Folks, welcome on back here for another fantastic edition of our Traders Talk workshop here this February 20th. Happy President's Day belated. Great to see all of our students and members alike inside our live trading room. Allow me to pop the webcam up as well for you folks there. There we go. Great to see the Iceman. Got Larry joining us here in chat. We got Kent, Scott, Alex, Mark, Lawrence, Yehuda, Eric, and all of our students and members alike. Great to have you just joining us here with us inside our live trading room. Or if you're on YouTube, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, etc. Irving says no more sound. No, we should be good to go right now, though, at least, folks, right? So for Victor, Irving, and all of us just joining us here, that being at Cyber Trading U, right? Just on the lower left right there, at Cyber Trading U. If you're just joining us for the first time, be a friend, tell a friend, look to spread the good word of what we teach here at Cyber Trading University, following the big money. We actually had a pretty good trade earlier today on Lunar. But here's the thing, though, for a lot of inexperienced traders, whether you're on YouTube or even joining us just live for the first time in our room, this is not an easy day. Fausto is screaming this from the mountaintops during his morning meeting, at least earlier today, where typically coming off a holiday, it screws the market up. So it's a lot more nickels and dimes. Also, for as much as the market had moved up the last, month, few weeks at least, we should get at least a little consolidation pullback. So it's seeing the market drop a little early. No surprise that we ended up seeing a lot more pullback after the market had opened up. So, with that said, I want to go over a few different trades. And at least if you're a trial member just joining us here for the first time inside our room, well, welcome aboard. This is really just a very fast moving room, at least at first. But here in Traders Talk, we have the chance to kind of slow this a bit down and kind of look to go over the X's and O's a lot further for the stocks that we were calling from this morning. So as a new member joining us here, if you're David or Kent, I saw Richard W before, Brian C, got Brent joining us here. Josh at ctutrading.com is my email. Any questions that you have, please feel more than free to shoot me over a quick email. I'm more than happy to help you out, or private chat just on the side, as one of our students did just before, Charlene. Oh, good to go. There we go. And yes, and keep in mind as well, just Traders Talk is done live every Tuesday morning inside our trading room, simulcast on YouTube as well. But it's also recorded. The full renditions of our Traders Talk workshop are hosted right on our student portal, right on our website right there. So as a student, you have the chance to go back like Charlene will on the recordings and all of us otherwise. So let me get right to the skinny here. This was not an easy morning just earlier today throughout pre-market on just an assortment of trades. Just +2, -2, +5, -2. Just I'm playing very tight, and that's even from pre-market hours this morning. Give me a quick moment here. Just got to move one thing over. We got so many halts actually that came in throughout the day, but I wasn't really a part of those. It was more just from the pre-market watch list that we had. Like for instance, I think it was the RGTI stock. It wasn't even on the pre-market list. It was up like 8% though in pre-market. I was hopeful to see this try and move up and break out a little bit. It just got nowhere. What else did we have? We had QBTS. I mean, you saw this tail off going into the market open, but after 8 a.m., seeing the infamous 8 o'clock move, it really didn't get too far. So this whole morning was pretty much that, where you were seeing just a lot of stagnant moves, choppiness, and you got to take the nickels and dimes, right? Stock like CLSK, I was trading all throughout the morning. You can see my whole freaking chart is lined up here at this point. But, nevertheless, at least earlier, I wanted a bounce from 17 area. It was chopping around a little too much for my liking. I had stopped out break even here. I'm just shooting transparent in front of you folks, and it popped up right away after without me. I ended up jumping back in and salvaged it, got like 16 or 15 cents out of it after. All right, at least that's something. But point being is that today is clearly not like last week or the week before, where we've had these 500, 1,000, 2,000% gainers. And then on top of that, obviously, the way the market was moving, between the holiday coming off and families still kind of away from the market, kids are off from school, or at least most are. I know Fausto mentioned his kids were not off school, but most were. So otherwise, you still have a lot of people trickling back into the market. That's where you as a trader, myself, Fausto, we got to be more reserved. You can't really be as trigger happy. Hey, if there's a trade that pops without us, we have to kind of think about it like very bluntly. I know so many of us here, like pretty much all of us that I spoke to, are like absolute sweethearts, men and women both, just absolute good-hearted people. You probably don't think like this bluntly and aggressively, but you got to think of it like, who the hell cares? If a stock pops up and runs without you on a day like today, after the last 2 weeks that we've had, let's not be over aggressive. Let's not just allow emotion to affect our mindset. So, hey, if there's one stock that we miss and it pops up drastically without us, okay, well, hey, there actually could be room on that one stock if you know where the levels are. And if you're using strategy accordingly, there could be room on that stock. We'll get to that in just a moment on Lunar. But there could be other trades, right? You just got to be a little patient, a little diligent. And as long as you're here in the trading room, like Leonard, Abdul, all of us are here this morning and going into the afternoon will be, it's a funny quote, but availability is the best ability. So just being here, at least as long as you're patient, there's going to be an opportunity for us to try and capture. I mean, hell, even now, before we go into Lunar, another trade even here on CLSK moving without me. I was playing with this earlier with my student Manny on coaching. I wrote it to all of us live in chat just earlier here, like Yehuda was talking about it, Eric, etc. I wrote directly. I don't know if it'll pop up on the recording of this Traders Talk here, but I said CLSK, Manny and I are looking for a drop to 16. Wrote that at 10:49 in the morning. Looks like it's making its way down there now. This thing had a lot of funk to it, though, like way too much funk, a lot of odd movement on the order book. See all of these crazy orange lines popping up? I mean, we're talking all over here. Yeah. So all of those are actually orders on the ask. And, hey, if you see it once, you'd like to think the stock's going to drop down. So it popped up, actually, went the other way. I was hands off here at this time. And I saw a new order pop up just shortly after. Okay. Certainly, this seems right here, at least, as if they want to push this down. So actually went short right at this point, and I'd mentioned at 10:49 as it's dropping. Hey, we're looking for this to freaking go to 16 here coming up. At least that's the next major support on the bid. But even after that, it popped back up again, and buyer step in and squeeze this order out. I got stopped out break even. I tried it again, and then it ended up stopping me out again, break even one more time. So there's just way too much chop and funk on this trade here, at least at this stage. If it breaks below these two lines on my chart, just the lows from the last prior 2 days, perhaps you can get that better move down to 16, right? The more selling that we simply see, we should be able to expect that larger break. So I was looking for it to happen more off the order book from like the icebergs popping up. But man, this thing's been tough. This thing has been rugged if you're just focused on that. If you're mainly just focused on the break of the lows, it seems like that's an easier opportunity. So perhaps coming up, there could be room on this short here for CLSK. So that's just kind of confirming my whole facet of, as long as you're patient and as long as you're at your desk, you're not like, trigger happy, taking every trade. But as long as you're here and you're patient, you're watching, then you're saying, okay, well, the more this drops, then, hey, perhaps we could see the support level get broken through and then the move down to 16 like we originally wanted. But Lunar, finally, we caught a decent runner in the morning. It was right as we were finishing up the audio commentary, the final 15 minutes, really, at least here. So it was a tough first 30 minutes, hour prior to this trade. I need to let you know that. It was really rugged and lots of break evens for myself. If you were able to get in and out for 20, 25 cents a pop on a trade or two, then that's perfect. That's great cushion money. You're a step ahead. Not everyone's making the same money each and every day, folks. And I feel like all of us realize that, but that also includes old Josh here. So it's not every day where I'm killing it out there. Not every day am I hitting it big. I'm going to take what the market will give me. So here, it wasn't up until Lunar where, things were a little tough. And then finally this trade came along and obviously went our way. Now that question is, why did it work out our way? What led to it to make an easier breakout here? Easy to say it moved up. Well, let's go over this trade from head to toe. Now, if you really want to know the best entry, you could just say, okay, well, when it fell down to $9, it broke under and over, right? Yeah, it's easy to say. There wasn't really a whole lot out there, when the market had opened up. Now, if you're looking here, this could be a more apropos level to look at. It's really from the CVP column, and it appears to be at 9. So with this actually sticking out as sharply as it does here from the pre-market hours, it popped right before 9:30. So perhaps on the pullback, it fell under and over. All right, that worked out. I didn't take the trade from there, though. I didn't have levels prepped up on this trade. Well, hey, in that case, then maybe you could look at the opening bell print right here at 9:45. 212,000 share block fill that came in right at the market open. Let me ask us here, Yehuda and Scott and Kent and Larry and all of our students here, namely all of our gold students above, perhaps, might I say. My apologies if you're not a gold student yet, but what do we nickname green as? What's the nickname that we give for green? Buy, right? Perfect, says Eric, Larry, Bill, Scott. Perfect. So with that said, you'd like to think with as much buying as you had here and for all these nips over the level and tests of that level, that the more buying that we see off of this price, that we should get that larger pop, that larger reactionary move. Well, in hindsight, not only did it break over the opening bell print, but it flipped that damn thing into support perfectly. So actually, you could have had the chance to jump in on the breakout over the opening bell print, and then also as support once it broke under and over, under and over. I didn't take the trade from there. That's easy. This is all easy to say in hindsight. But I'm telling you, like, just as I review a trade myself, whether it's something I took or something I didn't take, well, it gives us the chance to go back and realize, well, why did this exactly make the move that it made? Well, it made the better move here at 10 o'clock and after because it already teased the breakout above this price earlier in the morning. We already saw buying interest from here. We already see a ton of buying. So the more buying that we have, something's got to give. Now, again, that's easy to say in hindsight. I didn't take this trade from here. What I did was I ended up focusing more on the breakout. It was more the test of support actually from here. So I saw this begin to push up. I missed it from the initial run. I was like, all right, let's figure something out here. Let's just ask us really briefly here. What's our big resistance? Scott, Bell, Larry, Eric, and all of us otherwise in chat. What's our big resistance that we have on this trade? Great to have Patrick joining us here on YouTube. Great to see Patrick G. And we got Irving, one of our gold students, actually. Should be inside our trading room. Irving, just join our trading room right there. You get the full service right there as well. But yeah, you don't need to be in both the trading room and YouTube. It's the same deal. Right, so for all of our students inside our room, there we go, like Alan and Rhonda, there we go, 10. You see the dark beet red line right here? So that's clearly an order out there. Is that support? Is that resistance? Well, the white squiggly line here is the stock. It's the price of the stock going up and down. Well, if this beet red line is above where the stock is trading at, that's going to be resistance. So that's clearly a big level because not only is it a darker red line, but it's representing like 89,000 shares. That's a ton. For comparison, there is like a smaller one here at 975. And that was at, well, 975 the price, but it's for about like 39,000 shares. Now, if you're on YouTube, you're not going to be able to capture this one here, but inside our live trading room at 10:11 in the morning, I wrote this comment to you. 10:11, I wrote this chat to you on the top right. You should see it. I'll even repop it up for you in a moment so it shows again. I wrote to you at 10:11 in the morning. Said Lunar needs to hold above 975 area now. Well, why did I write that at 10:11 in the morning? Well, it's because it broke over this resistance line here. Oops, sorry. It's because it broke over this resistance line here. It not only broke above 75, but it broke over 10. It started to move off that too. All right, well, let me just ask us here. Really simple. I went over this with Manny on our coaching call just before. So for all of us here now, just regardless of the price, just in terms of simple support resistance, when a stock breaks above resistance and it runs right from it, we would like to think that the first time that it tests that price on the way back down, the first time, not necessarily the second, third, fourth, but the first test, what should we expect to see? The best test, right? Mark says support. So once it breaks above resistance, even here, I was saying, okay, well, let's see what happens. Hell, this might keep popping. It might get halted on the way up. If that were to be the case, then I wouldn't have been in the trade, right? I'm not chasing this thing that much. This was already running from like $9 at first. So I felt a little iffy, but by the time this broke over 10, I'm saying, okay, well, if it can come down to 975, go under then over, then I think that there could be at least an entry there. And that's exactly what happened. Happy the cookie crumbled pretty nicely this way here. I left a ton on the table because, hey, let me ask us, what happens typically around 10:15, 10:30 Eastern for Irving, who's now in, there we go, inside the chat board joining us right now. And for Scott and Mark, what typically happens around 10:15, 10:30 in the morning? Right. Reversal time. So, from 9:30 to 10:30, 9:30 to 10:15 in the morning, that's where we're typically trying to follow trends and movements. So honestly, even here, there's some skepticism to see continuation because, hell, what if this holds the first time and then keeps nipping this as support? Well, it's going to break below it and tank. So I had to be extremely wary of that, right? It's easy to look at this and be like, oh, it worked out after, right? Well, hey, resistance was having a damn tough time breaking above 975 from earlier here. So for as much resistance as we had earlier in the morning, it broke above it. And on the first test of it as support, under and over. That's exactly what we preach here, not just in Traders Talk, but more so, a lot more in our main curriculum, phases 1 and 2, namely. That's where we have like the chance to break this down a lot more under a microscope. Phase 3 really is live trading. That's where you should be expected to know that and say, okay, with Fausto or myself, well, let's take these trades live. So at least phase 1, phase 2, we hammer this home. Okay, well, thankfully it worked out, but hey, I still got out early on this trade. I ended up getting out where it was right under 1050. So I was in from 75. I got out at 1050. Fausto had a good daily chart level on this at 1070-ish, basically like the peak of this candle, this area altogether, basically these 3 candles on the monthly chart. Just kind of looking for that to be a nice top. So I got out. It was just a shade under 1050, I think 1046. I was extremely happy at the profit given because considering the morning that was, I was up a fractional amount, but it was bad. Given last week, it's not like I always set myself to a certain level. I know that every day is going to be different. Some better, but some not as good. This I expected to be a kind of a shit morning. And it kind of fell that way. So it's not like I didn't really hit my mark. But either way, still to only be up like $60, $50, $30 on the day. It's like, man, last week we killed it. The week before we killed it. I mean, even from the beginning of this whole year, it's been incredible. From the end of last year, we were coming off really hot. So you can't really just try and swing for the fences every morning. If I was up like 75, 80 cents, just take the money and run, especially as you're getting closer to that 1030 mark. Hey, it's easy to say in hindsight. This actually reversed right at literally on 1030, maybe the minute after it hit its peak and then dropped. Folks, you can't honestly time reversal time that way every day. I hope you all realize that going into this, but it's not as if, market makers out there from Deutsche Bank and, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, whatever you name it, are looking at their watches. It's not like they're like, oh, that's the Fausto Pugliese rule, the cyber trading reversal time. Let's come on. If trading was that easy, none of us would be here, myself included. So sometimes it's 10:15 in the morning. Sometimes it's like even 10:08 in the morning. On occasion, it could be even a little bit after 10:30. So hell, in the event where this ended up pushing up a little bit more from here, okay, if it really kept trying to give you more going up, then let's see if more resistance can flip into support and ride it up again from there. But that's a different circumstance. That's not what happened here, it seems. Ended up just making a lower high, shook back down. Not only that, really quickly, before we move on from this one stock, but this stock's up it was up like 56, 60% today. Yeah, this stock has been on a tear since like last week. It was like $4 stock like a week or two ago. Now it's at like $12. So it's really a 300% move in the last 1 to 2 weeks. That's a lot. Got a little lemon, fresh water, got Himalayan salt, honey, and what's known as methylene blue. Very good for mitochondrial action. So it's a little healthy drink right there. Now, with that said, though, let me know if you have any questions or follow-ups in regards to the lunar trade. I'll tell you, coming off the holiday, it's also expected, just being here with Fausto for almost 10 years now, doing this Traders Talk workshop every single Tuesday morning. Coming off a holiday, I normally don't get as many questions. There's normally not as much to cover, right? Or, coming off the long weekend, not as much really recall as much unless if you're intently digging through your journals and really have a question that you want to go over. But I didn't really have any questions that came in prior to Traders Talk beginning. So, we can go over a couple other stocks, even, some trades that we didn't have the chance to look at from earlier today. Coinbase dropping off right now pretty nicely. Looks like that CLSK. Actually, we could follow this live right now because otherwise it's only 11:28. Perhaps we go to like 11:45 and call it. But otherwise right now, actually, look what just happened. 1648, but namely 1650, and 97,000 share print got filled right there. And it's beginning to pull back. This is where I feel like over time we're going to see this snap support and just tank. I wanted to take it earlier, and I'm not going to trade it right now because at this point right now, I'm just going to wait until my next coaching session with my student coming up, and we'll figure something out from there. But if this drops off down to 16, wouldn't shock me. Now, I'd want to get a bounce on CLSK over time, a lot more of a bull than a bear on this trade. So over time, would love to get 16, maybe 15.94 past closing prices from last week. That would be pretty notable. And hey, as a day trade, to go short from here down to those prices, that's about worth like 50 cents, maybe 45, 50 cents worth of room. That's pretty solid. That's a decent trade to take as a day trade. It's just that on these crypto stocks, I'm a lot more bullish than bearish on it over time. All right. Actually, I had a question that came in from last week, and I don't like using this as much as a question because it's really to say I don't like talking about myself. Like, who the hell cares about old Josh here? And I mean that from an egotistical point, right? Because, a lot more of traders talk is more so reserved for trades that we're taking. But I had a trade. This was actually from 2 weeks ago, mind me, 2 weeks ago. It was from just one of our new students kind of asking how I ended up getting involved with Fausto and what led me to get into the role I'm in at right now. So I may as well just go over that a little bit while I can here. So ended up starting off with Fausto October 6th, 2014. Don't ask why I remember that date. Perhaps it was maybe from like Instagram, actually on my Instagram page, I think my first post that I at least have there now. It's just the first post that you'll see. It's me in my childhood house in my den with my big ass tube TV. I was watching NFL football Sunday. And on my laptop, I had Fausto's Phase 1 stock course with a big notepad. And I fell in love with this from the get-go. So I started off with Fausto, honestly, just to peel. I shoot straight. I don't give a shit. I started off as a sales rep. Selling the classes in the trial. And at that point, I fell in love with it, not just because this is online. This is like a video game, basically, kind of following a chart from one level to the next. I like video games. Well, it's not just that, but it's the money aspect involved. You start hearing about a couple guys making like $2,000, $5,000 a day. Obviously, much like yourself, my eyes lit up like a Christmas tree. Right away, I say, okay, obviously I have to get more involved with this, with like the trading aspect. I was 23 at the time, 32 now. So you can imagine old Josh at the time is not old. He was a baby and he had zero money to his name. So, still paying back some student loans here and there slowly. We're basically finished up at this point, but I didn't want to pay it off in all one lump sum. That's another story. Here, I ended up saying, all right, let me try and open up an account with a friend. It took a year to get involved with opening up an account. And then I started trading pretty quickly from there. Did all right, but I hyped it up a little much for my friend who I combined my money with. And he felt like we weren't really making the amount of money that we should be making at the time. So we ended up parting ways, ended up actually soiling a friendship at the same time, pretty much there. That is a hard lesson I learned, not to mix business with friendship. Business with family too, perhaps. But otherwise from there, I opened up my own account later on, ended up just taking it from there. I started off in the real estate business before Fausto. So I was doing like high-rise rentals in New York City, conveniently enough, specifically on Wall Street, like Wall Street, Exchange Place, Gold Street, which is right in Fide, Water Street, which is right off the Seaport, Battery Park area around there. That was my whole area. So at that time in 2012, 2013, I didn't know bleep about the stock market. I didn't know a damn thing about the stock market back then. Didn't know that you're able to short a stock. But let me tell you, that is where I could simply show you from my own results and from the students that we train. You don't need to be the sharpest tool in the shed. You don't need to be the brightest bulb of the bunch to do this. Like for anyone that comes into CTU, that has 30, 50 years experience with trading. I mean, that's a lot, obviously. And as an instructor for 10 years, I have no other choice but to respect the experience. But let me tell you, this is a complete different ballgame compared to investing. And for something that someone does consistently every single day, you don't need to be here for 10 years to get this straight. Honestly, it's really just a matter of being here for a few months consistently and watching these classes over and over. So really at the time, the more I ended up learning, I realized, I said, okay, well, you have to really apply this and put this towards the trading yourself, not just go through classes. So that's where you have to put pen to paper and really get the practice in. And that's where my eyes more opened up with Bookmap. So, once we really end up following level 3 or level 4, really Bookmap at that point, that's what really kind of took me to the next level. Question from Herb. This is actually more in relation to just a trade, at least. So Herb's asking just in regards to a trade. He says, if it goes under and then back over a support level, let's say just once, and then you expect it to go up, what do you expect if it does that twice? Very good question. So let's say here even, because these were chart levels I had, I thought there's a case to see a bounce initially, but later on, I tried shorting it with those icebergs that popped up. All right, well, under and over first test, it bounced. Okay. You're asking what happens if it does it a second time? Or are you asking, Herbert, if you're in the trade after the first time it does this, like good entry, and it comes back down again? He says, okay, he says you're not in the trade yet, but it's retesting that support. So it's already made that under and over once. Good move. You missed it. It's okay. But it's coming back down there a second time or even a third time. Do you expect the same, or what do you expect of it? Basically, he's asking. Well, that's kind of where I'm saying right here. I'm expecting the drop. Like this is just right now where I'm saying the more this nips this support level over time, I'm definitely expecting the move that I wanted originally, the drop down to 16. Again, my premise on this short was based off of the iceberg orders that were popping up here on the ask. But holy smokes, I didn't realize I was signing up for so much funk and choppiness here. All of these orders popping up. That's like death by 1,000 paper cuts. So from my coaching session with Manny, I forgot. We probably walked out net positive like 3 cents or 2 cents. It was nothing. But even after that point, it pulled back. I didn't want to take it during this workshop. It's just, I know that I'll be able to make money elsewhere throughout the market later on today, but this is definitely making this drop off now at this stage. So I had the right idea, but it was really more so from just seeing the big break of support. So this was a good example, Herb, of, as far as the short goes. Nipped it once under and over. It was nipping it later on the upper of these two purple lines here. The combination of them together create that level. So it's really just the more it's touching, break right there. He says, so the more times it does it in under and over, then expect it to eventually drop below and make a clean break. Absolutely correct, Herb. Absolutely. Yep. Abdul says, never, never, never in terms of, hopefully that's in terms of being the sharpest tool in the shed, the brightest bulb of the bunch. You don't need to be that, right? Never you need to be that. He says, you just need common sense and determination. Determination, but to even elaborate on that more, I love those words. Discipline. Let me ask you, for all of us here, let's say starting today, you begin to go to the gym for 1 hour every day for 2 months. Can you guarantee me that you're going to walk out in way more shape? Can you guarantee me that? Let's say if you go to the gym every single day for like 3 months straight and you go for 1 hour every day, can you guarantee me that you're going to be in much better shape? No, because let me ask you, what if you go to the gym and you just you're on this, you're on the treadmill on like power level 1, you're like slow walking it. You know what I mean? Mark's asking, how are you training? What's your workout like? Absolutely. That's what we get more into, the nitty gritty of that. Okay, let's say if you're doing some intense stuff, you're doing some crazy workouts, are you guaranteed to be in great shape? I mean, there's probably a better chance compared to just going and like just walking. But what if you're doing stuff that's so intense that you're pulling a muscle? When you pull your quad, that's not really good shape, right? There needs to be a routine and there needs to be consistency behind it. So that's where we say here, let's say if you wake up every morning and you're at your desk, okay, well, where I say availability is the best ability, that's more in relation to trying to find a trade. But in terms of actually making money on it, you need to implement consistent strategy, right? And that's the discipline part of it. It's a matter of realizing the strategy that you're using on each and every trade, how much of it you're using and to what extent, right? I'm trying to compare it to working out. So let's say if you're doing chest and triceps, you're doing certain chest workouts and incline and decline, and you do the burnout sets and the negatives and all of that stuff. Bill says started doing 30 minutes of stairs. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, stairs is a good workout. Stairs is way better than like slow little treadmill stuff. Doing stairs, Bill, you're gonna be in shape. John says you will be in quote unquote shape, but it will still be the shape of round in terms of just doing the treadmill just on power level 1, right? Yeah, just being at your desk every day, you're not going to make money. Obviously, you'll be there to try and make money, but it's a matter of the strategy that you're implementing. So even here, okay, well, if this is such a big support level that just broke, then support initially, the first test, should be resistance, right? So we'll see if over time we end up getting this resistance to hold, and then it drops. Hey, it is kind of holding here. Well, at that point, this stock should look to drop off. This has been teasing this break all from the morning. So if this is such a big support level and we had so much selling, then we really should be getting a larger move down. And here we should be getting support to act as resistance. So if that's what happens, then perfect. The more this fails to make a lower low coming up from here, like right now, the more this fails to pull back and make a lower low, that would be where you would begin to scratch your head. And that would be where you begin to say, wait, something's off here. Shouldn't this be dropping down to the next support? Shouldn't this be crashing down towards perhaps 16? So that's my focal point here on this trade. This was actually a decent short just over the last 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes even. But now it's a matter of really just basic charting principles play out. Support becomes resistance, pull back lower. If that doesn't happen in the next 1 to 2 hours here, even the next 30 minutes to 1 hour, I'd begin to say, all right, well, maybe there's a case for a run up this afternoon. That's all. All right, just check YouTube right now really quick. I don't have any chat from there, which means I'm good to go. I'm just here really quick. All right, perfect, folks. Hey, you know what? We're going to call Trader Suck a little early here for this afternoon, or for this morning, rather. Just coming off a holiday, normally don't get as much to cover, and with as much as we had here today, I already went over Lunar, went over my CLSK trade at least here. And if there's anything else that you'd want me to go over here, at least briefly, just type it in the chat, let me know. But there wasn't a whole lot else that I was really too jumpy towards. Maybe the only other one, SOUN. This was a decent move in the morning, actually. Pre-market hours, it was a decent little move off of 4, broke under and over right there. There are 2 different levels here that created this, so it looks like it did it twice, but it was kind of falling into this range altogether, and it started to pop off pretty good here. We didn't get any support to hold. It pulled back, and pretty much at this point, I just said the hell with it. Once it pulled back at that point and dropped, I just didn't even want to focus on it. So I moved away from this trade pretty quickly after the market opened up. I guess there was a case to see a small little push here, but I wasn't a part of that. That could have been good for like 8 or 10, 12 cents. Could have been. But otherwise, lower high, lower low. Oh, there was a bounce from 370 here. Crap. Okay. All right. Damn. Fair play. There could have been a good entry there. There really could have been. All right. Shoot. So this trade had a pretty good support level earlier this morning. It was right here from pre-market, right at 370. It popped up at 8:48 in the morning. 75,000 shares on the buy side. It was out there for the remainder of pre-market, right? It was out there for the remainder of pre-market. So I say, all right, that's a pretty big level. I had that there on my chart going into the market open, actually, but damn, I actually missed that right there. Broke under and over. We had a solid move. Pretty good move. Took a little while to get up towards 19, 20 cent play here now at 390, but every trade begins with the entry. Oh, it's actually a pretty decent one I could have had. Oh, well. Actually timed pretty close to reversal hour too, like 10:15 to 10:30, quote unquote. You know what I mean? All right, folks. So, hey, you know what? I will tell you what, we're going to finish up here for the time being. So if you're on YouTube, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, X, Twitter, whatever social media platform there is out there now, there's like one a week now, there seems to be. At Cyber Trading You, we'll try and be on all of them over time, but at Cyber Trading You, just be a friend, tell a friend, and namely on our YouTube stream as well. Just that's where we're mainly hosting all of these streams and workshops and meetings. So certainly on YouTube, if anything, at Cyber Trading You, that being, just look to follow and subscribe to us right there. If you have any other follow-up questions for me here from this workshop, just shoot me a quick email, josh@ctutrading.com. That goes across the board for Abdul, Bill, Leda, Grant, all of our students here, of course. But I'll be in the chat board. You could always private chat me all throughout the day today. I'll be in here. But otherwise, folks, our next audio broadcast will be at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, heading into the afternoon meeting. So if there's any other questions that you got, definitely let me know over time here. But we'll be back on later on today. All right, folks, I'll catch up with everybody soon. Take care.